Welcome to the Brickworks Podcast, an extension of the studio based here in Burnham-on-sea. Our aim for this podcast is to have a completely open forum for conversation. This could be about art, life, mental health, or even how the world is burning down around us right now. Whether you're listening to this whilst on a run or relaxing at home, we hope you enjoy our mild-mannered rambles. Thank you. Yeah, the thing with OBS, as I was saying, is like if you accidentally press the wrong button, it just fucks up the whole thing. Like you end up in a situation where you're like, like what
where do I go from here?
100%. Like, yeah. So you're doing like live streams and stuff with OBS.
Yeah, like I've partaked in a couple, but I've never it was kind of like I got asked to before Ironside was as what Ironside is now. I used to like really be active DJing in Southampton.
Yeah.
And then live streams came about in the first lockdown and I got asked to do a couple, and I did. The first one I did was so embarrassing. Like it was through my phone, and it blew up, man. It was like 1,000 people watching it at one, or 800 people watching it.
Yeah.
And I was literally like so embarrassed by the quality. And then the next time I bought a mixer, and now I record my audio internally, so it comes from my decks to the mixer. So if I talk, it doesn't hear me.
Yeah.
And it's taken a long time to fine tune how to figure it all out. But
honestly, I think that's the thing with these recording softwares, setting this podcast area up. It's it took 2 days to build it, so it looked ready to go. But it took 3 weeks probably to get the software working right, the mics work. I bought 2 different versions of microphones thinking it was that was the problem. It was a fucking nightmare. But now it's fingers crossed, touch wood, that this podcast doesn't get fucked up somehow. It seems to be running sweet, perfect. And it's just you don't want to touch anything now.
It's good as well, man. Obviously when you were doing the Face for the Future,
it was
a very, very different vibe, wasn't it? But good. It was a good, I think it looked like it was a good learning process. And
I think it was, my first venture in podcasting. I'm not sure why I like podcasting. I haven't really unpacked it at all. I kind of just do it. You know what I mean?
It's good.
And when we were moving into the Brickworks and the whole idea of the studio space became actually viable, I said to George, who's my partner in this, I said to him, I was we have to make a podcast, and it has to be in person. No more fucking about with online podcasts. They're great, they work, they're okay, but for me, I always found, speaking of Faces for the Future, it's there was so much disconnect between me and the guest, whereas, and I think that came from the disconnect being through a computer and the lag that comes with it and all these things. Whereas recording a podcast in person, it's it's much more intimate. I can see your facial reactions, you can see mine. And much clearer.
Nice, good quality.
Yeah.
Good quality.
4K.
10.
But it also, there's a whole process with recording in person, I found, where, for example, for yourself today, it's and this is the same for every guest that comes on this podcast, is we don't just, you walk in and then we get straight to it. I want to sit down, get to know somebody, because sometimes I don't even know the person. I may have spoke to them once on the phone, but I have no connection per se with them. So it's I want to build a bit of a rapport before we sit down and do this. So take half an hour, have a coffee, have a chat, see how everyone's doing.
Have half a podcast.
Have half a podcast, yeah. But the thing that I've noticed by doing that, and this is the big thing that I'd say to anyone that's thinking about starting a podcast that I've learned the hard way, is by almost starting a podcast before even sitting down at the microphones, you've already got the conversation rolling. The conversation's already going. This conversation we're having right now, I don't feel like it started as soon as we sat down. It's been going for 45 minutes, so it feels very natural, I've always found.
Definitely. When I was doing my podcast, it was all over the phone, and it is just I think when you're having a conversation with someone, sometimes someone talks over the other person, but accidentally, but you kind of get past it. But when that happens, when you're on a FaceTime, it's a big ordeal. It's oh, sorry, and it's it's so much lag that you just kind of end up talking over each other too much.
That's interesting. That's a good point actually, because when you're with somebody in person, you don't. if you
as
talk
much,
over,
much,
you don't talk over them as much, and then when you do, it's not quite at this big like pause in the conversation. Whereas on a phone, it's almost like you're both second guessing each other. It's like, wait, are you talking or about, like, you know what I mean? It's that weird moment of being like, huh, what's going on?
Yeah, I've been listening to like, because I love podcasts, man. People ask me like what kind of podcasts I listen to. It's like nothing specific, like some lifestyle stuff, some celebrity stuff, some music stuff, like just, or true crime stuff.
True crime podcasts are sick. I love them.
Man. Yeah,
they are so sick.
But I think, have you heard about the one that's like, my dad wrote a porno?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but
that was like the first podcast I ever heard of. It's so funny. But it's like, sometimes you can hear, like even on Spotify, you can hear when people are in person, and you can hear when people are like all on Zoom or whatever.
Yeah. And I think like, the online podcast, I'm recording a series at the moment that I was commissioned to do, and it's like, it's okay, like, but from a hosting perspective, especially, it becomes way harder because like it's way harder to have that connection. Like I'm in the conversation, but I'm not. There's this disconnect again. You know what I mean? It's podcasts,
interviews.
Yeah.
Very same, but very different.
Yeah.
You know?
So different. Different. Like I've always found that if you have a strict like criteria of questions that you're going to ask on a podcast, it's like you're going to ruin the flow. Like the flow of a podcast should be a conversation. How I feel it is anyways. I feel it should be a conversation. All the podcasts that I listen to, when I'm listening to them, I feel like I'm in a conversation, not in an interview. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of a key component to making a podcast feel natural.
I do think as well, like, it depends how many people are involved.
Totally.
So I feel like because it's just you and I, it's like we don't need talking points necessarily. But when there's like 4 or 5 of you, it's good to like, what do you think of the music industry, and then get everyone's different opinion because then it involves everyone else. But with 2 people having talk, like it's not nothing wrong with. I've done interviews in the past where like people have like had talking points and stuff, but it does edge into this interview territory.
Yeah, and it makes whoever's running the podcast more of like a host of an interview rather than like part of the conversation, I've always found.
Oh, definitely, man. Like the only times I've seen you over the last year, it's like I've been going for a run or you've been going for a run. I've cycled past you. It's like, I really want to talk to you, but I'm in a rush. Like literally, that's And I've been saying to you, like, we need to sit down and have a chat.
Yeah, 100%.
And this is like such a great like opportunity to like finally speak about it, because we haven't really seen each other for like
fucking years, bro.
years.
It must be like in reality like 5 years minimum.
I've been away for 3 years, but like I guess the last time we've like probably hung out was when you used to give me lifts back from college, which is like 5 years ago.
Jesus,
I hate being old.
You made me sound even older, bro. You're younger than me.
I feel so old.
Don't make my grey hair get worse.
That's why you're in a hat, bro.
Hide that shit, bro.
I'm getting grey hairs too. I don't know if you could tell.
Well, you can see it through the pink.
Yeah, man.
So how's studying going? Obviously, I know we had a bit of a chat before coming on. It's a bit shit, a little bit.
Like 3rd year uni, it's hard. It's supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
But I did really well last year, and I feel like it's just I just don't feel like how I learn is through like asking. I like being told I'm wrong, and I like asking stupid questions. I like being like, no, that's not right. I like the explanation of like things, the conversation of things. Whereas I don't think same with the podcasts online. I don't feel like I get things as well. And some like pre-recorded lectures, for example, like pre-recorded lectures that have been, a whole year's been recorded in a week. I've had some lecturers do similar things like that. And it's just like, you don't, talking about COVID-19 in April is not relevant to like how it is now.
It's right now.
So if you're going to do pre-recorded, maybe do the monthly or something.
I think that would probably make more sense. Monthly, you would have thought it's doable to do a monthly pre-recorded lecture. I have to admit, I'm incredibly glad that I finished my masters at the beginning of last year, before the pandemic, because I was able to have so much time with my tutors and so much time with my peers in my class, and this whole debacle that has been the educational system throughout the last what is it? Well, yeah, nearly a year of this pandemic, has made me realise like how much the education system is terrible at adapting, and it's not its own fault by any means.
No.
But there's no backup plan. Like there's been like, okay, we go to online lectures, great, but what if you do a physical course? What if you're doing, metal work? You need to be with your lecturer to show you a technique, and and I'm not trying to scrutinize the education system, because as my career was born in it. Like,
I'm not here to tell them they're doing it wrong, because
100%.
I hate people that say you're doing it wrong. Like, the education system's doing everything wrong. But they then have this is how they should be doing it.
Totally.
Like, I don't have a clue how they're supposed to be doing it. I hate that I'm in my third year and I'm really struggling. But I'm doing all right. I feel bad for the first years.
Yeah, that are now in this new norm of
that, like,
online lectures. Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with your point about people that scrutinise but with no feedback. Like, there's no point. Like, if you're not able to give like a form of feedback that could help without with the scrutiny, why are you scrutinizing in the first place? You know what I mean? It's like, for me, if it was like running lectures, I would try and figure out a way of doing them as most physical as possible in the digital realm. You know what I mean? Like, there must be some crossover there. If budget wasn't a problem, which I know it is for a lot of universities and schools, of course, there's VR technology, there's all of these new forms of like learning that can be bought into it, but it is a budgetary thing.
We are still in the prototype era of this, though. Like, they like, I feel like in the future, if we are still in a virtual learning capacity, like, system, like they'll get better at it. It's just that this first year is quite because it is March last year. That was, I don't know, I think uni finishes at the end of April normally, so that's only like 2 months. Yeah. Whereas like this year they've had a whole year of figuring it out, and I think this time next year everything will be different. Everything. Like, I don't mean like we won't be in lockdown anymore, and I'm not saying COVID won't be a thing. No. But like whatever, everything's just going to be different next year. I think it's for the better or worse.
Totally. And I think, I was having a conversation with a friend last night about this. What's been really interesting is there's been sort of quite a lot of like societal shifts in the last like 12 months. If you look at how society is reacting, and there's so much more hatred and skepticism and all of these massive societal shifts and trends, and it's totally like, where are we going to be in a year's time? It really is an unknown in some capacity. And I think, like, especially for yourself, it must be quite sort of daunting, being that you're in the events industry, working in the music industry. It's like, fuck, I've had musicians and people who work in the industry on this podcast before, and it's like, I feel for you guys, because working with doing exhibitions, it's a person-to-person event. It's an event, and it's like, can't do them. So but then the music industry has it 5 times worse than that, and it's like, it must be quite sort of difficult, especially going through your third year, knowing that the music industry has changed, and whether it might get back to where it was.
So obviously it is quite daunting, finally figuring out that you want to do events of your life, and then a year before the real world happens,
and there's no events.
But the thing that I always think about is like the parallel industries. So like the live sector has taken a hit. But then live streaming has become a thing. There's that K-pop group, I don't know their name, BTS.
Can't say I've listened to much K-pop in my time, apart from Gangnam Style.
They're a massive thing. They're called like BTS or something. Yeah. And they did like a live stream the other day, and like 800,000 people went, and it raised like £20 million this one event.
Holy shit! That is a lot of people.
I'm pretty sure that, like, people watching this podcast would be like, they're this B something, and they're like a massive.
Oh shit! Is it that? I think they did like a collaboration with Samsung, didn't they?
There's like 5 of them. They were on the Graham Norton show. Yeah. That's all I really know about them. But yeah, you should check out. There's a website called Complete Music Business or something. Yeah. Oh no, what's it called? Complete music update.
Yeah.
And you like sign up to a newsletter and it just keeps you updated. It like sends you really good like newsletters about like what's happening with the industry.
Interesting.
And you do kind of like see that like the live sector is like taking a massive hit, but there are these parallel industries, and you know, the people that were in the industry have by now, most of them have gone on to do different things. So eventually, when like events are back on, there might be like a massive opportunity to get your foot in the industry. Because
yeah, good point actually.
You know, if there's no industry at the moment, hypothetically.
Yeah.
So but when it's back, there's going to be so many opportunities for people that are ready. It's like I don't know who said it, and I don't even know if I made this up myself, but I've always you know, I don't want to. Oh, someone said this, but I don't.
Yeah.
Basically, I think luck is when skill meets opportunity.
I've heard something similar to that in the past.
If you get the opportunity but you're not ready, then it's not lucky.
No.
But when you meet someone and said, like, you know, if you met someone who said, "Oh, can you do a photo shoot for me?" Your skill has met the opportunity, and it could be, you know, a really lucky break.
Yeah, for sure.
And
sure.
You know, so my thought process is that when events are back on, I'm going to do as much as I can to prepare myself, to put myself in the best position, so that when I get the opportunity, my skill meets it for my luck. My big break.
Your opportunity as such. Yeah, no, that's a really interesting, you know, thesis in that, like, I suppose a lot of people are giving up on the live event route right now, the traditional form anyways, rather than live stream. It is crazy to think, like, I used to watch years ago, like years and years and years ago when I was like a teenager, I used to watch like Call of Duty live streamers. You know, that was like such an underground thing fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it's such a big thing. Like, you know, there's people making God knows how much money off of like Twitch and all these other platforms.
So I heard you speaking to Jack about that on the other podcast.
We
were in the same tutor, me and Jack.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. So you were talking about stuff. I was like, I used to go around like Liam's to see you talk about. I used to talk to Jack about it. And it's like brilliant. But yeah,
that's
mate,
so
it was
jokes.
completely PYG. That's something like Ash. But like, yeah, it's just such a bigger thing now, and like, I'm not up to date.
No. But like
fair play.
The whole like, you know, I think the thing that I'm very interested in is how live streaming has become like a really viable option for people. You know, there's, you know, obviously there's the gamers on Twitch, etc. Like, I think that's probably its main focus.
I think the gamers have been doing it the longest.
Of course. But I think there's a lot of room in that, in a platform like Twitch and, you know, YouTube Live and all of these other platforms where live streaming is capable for like some really interesting like projects and growth and, you know, of music. I've seen a lot of like, you know, personally, I don't listen to a lot of like techno and like all of those sort of things. I'm much more like old school hip hop kind of guy. I listen to a lot of like jazz. I'm an old man basically at this point. But like, you know, I've seen a lot of like DJs are doing live sets, whether it's on Facebook Live or Instagram Live, all those things. And it's like really interesting to see how people are transitioning into doing live streams, because it's a very it can be a very personal like platform. You know, you can make
people are like, you know, especially when people are doing it at home. Totally. When people are doing it, like I've seen ones that people are doing it at cool stages and stuff, but most of it's just like DJs in their living room. Yeah. And I think going back to like what I said about parallel industries, it's really amazing, this live streaming opportunity, because the DJs, especially in like drum and bass, like they weren't necessarily getting the opportunity to do the sets at the clubs. But now it's so easy for someone to, you know, buy an iRig, you know, connect it to your decks, live stream, and then like, you know, you've got the opportunity to get the following. Whereas, you know, you'd go to clubs to see big DJs and maybe some smaller DJs, but now it's just like any DJ with the right bits of kit can grow an audience.
And arguably it's opened the door up to more people to potentially make a career out of something like this, because, you know, there is, I'm speaking from like a gallery perspective, like a visual arts perspective, but I'm guessing the music industry is similar in that, you know, clubs, discos? Is disco still a thing? Or am I showing my age? Am I showing my age?
I don't know. I see like disco as like more of a genre than like a club
Oh, okay.
If you know what I mean.
I still think of it
or
as
like
like
Oceana. I'm pretty sure they have like a disco.
room.
I went to Lakota to do a disco night and the outdoor thing after the first lockdown.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Up the disco. Up the disco.
But I think like I would have thought it's quite similar in the parallel industries. Again, I think it would have been quite similar in that to get onto a stage, or for example in the visual arts, get your work in a gallery, you kind of have to be a select few. You kind of have to know somebody who knows somebody, or like get in that way. Like I would have thought from the outside, a complete outsider looking in, it looks quite a selective industry in that regard. Whereas like live streaming and, you know, I've noticed a lot of people now making YouTube content, like more than what they probably would have done before or even considered before. It's a completely open forum. It's an open platform. So it's like, it's fair game. Like whoever's producing the best cool shit will probably get the most viewers, you know what I mean?
And realistically, I think that's the way it should be. Like, I think, you know, not being able to network sucks. I love going to events and meeting people. Like, I've only recently, over the past year, become a social media person. Like, I used to not be very good at it. And then over the last year, I've had to be, because I haven't had the opportunity to like meet people and be like, oh, this is what I do. And now I've got like, you know, essentially direct people somewhere. And I've become more on social media, but like I miss meeting people and being like, oh, you do this? Oh shit, well, I do this.
Yeah,
we could do this and that together.
We could work together. Yeah, totally.
I do miss collabing with people, and it's just more complicated these days, isn't it?
I think, you know, I've always worked off the premise of having one door open makes your life easier because you know the direction that you can go in. Yeah. Having 5 to 10, like 5, 10, 15, however many doors open in front of you, it makes it much harder to make decisions that inform what it is you want to do. And I think that although the internet is a fantastic, in its own way, platform, social media included in that, there's almost too many ways to market yourself, too many ways to create. It makes it potentially, you know, for some creatives or individuals, not necessarily just creatives, really hard to figure out what it is that their path. Whereas if you've got 2 doors, you have 2 options. You know where you're going. You can either go left or right. But if you have 5 of those fucking things, it's like, where am I going? Like, and the way I kind of see social media right now, for me personally anyways, or the Brickworks, there's all of these doors. There's Instagram, there's Twitter, there's YouTube, there's Tumblr, there's
TikTok.
TikTok. It's not, fuck, I feel like I talk about TikTok on every podcast at the moment. But
it's mad.
It's crazy. Well, especially for the music industry. But I think it's great. Having all those options, fantastic. But it also makes it a little bit harder to figure out which is the right way to go. Yeah,
man. I think it depends on the content you produce. Like, before the first lockdown, I was pretty much solely on Facebook for Ironside. But that's because we did events. That's all we did at the time. And on Facebook, in my opinion, is the better events. Instagram, I think, is the best overall social media for like interaction and stuff. I'm not on TikTok. Like, I don't even have a personal TikTok, and I've seen a handful of TikToks, and like I don't really get it. But it's we released a tune last week called Skadoosh, which is like
cool
got a lot
name.
of like samples from Kung Fu Panda. It's like dubstep meets DnB. It's brilliant.
That's sick.
But the artist, he does TikTok. He got like 5,000 followers, and he did like a little. I'll show it to you after. It's like 100%. A little like video, and he posted it on TikTok. He sent it to me. I posted it on Ironside's Instagram, and it got like 200 views in an hour.
That's mad.
That is 200 views in an hour.
That's crazy.
Beyond anything. I didn't even like hashtag, didn't boost it. It was just like posted a TikTok. That's and it went mental, and like, oh mate, I need to go on TikTok.
I think honestly, like I'm very much, like I've said this on a previous podcast, I think I'm very much interested in integration of new formats like TikTok into old formats of creating like documentary photography. I'm very interested in how can these two forms gel? Can they gel? If they do, how do they? All of those things. But the thing that I have noticed is as I think I said this previously as well, TikTok is almost, I think I said this on the last podcast, or was it one? Anyways,
one of the many.
One of the many that I've recorded in the last fucking 3 weeks. Anyways, I think TikTok is an evolution of apps, social media over the last decade or so. Because if you look at when social media started becoming a thing, like way back, MySpace, like, you know, that sort of thing. It was all profile based, the person, etc. Then Facebook came along, similar concept, more fine tuned, and then Instagram. What I know, what for me anyways, I think I've picked up on, and I'm sure hundreds of other people have as well, is social media is becoming more and more of a fast platform. In the back in the day, you could sit and read a bio, or you'd take time. It was much more of a slower process. Whereas, you know, if you look at what Vine was like, it was 60 seconds, same as TikTok. Was TikTok 60 seconds? Or was it 30 seconds? I don't even know. I think it might be 30 seconds.
I need to try. Honestly, I need to just like...
Maybe we both need to just...
I just need to download it,
Should we just download it now? But like, the thing that I think TikTok I noticed... Who creates the best TikTok on the podcast? Yeah. But I think the thing, like... I think it's correlated, the faster these apps have got, so like not the speed of the app, but the content within it has correlated with people's attention spans. That's, you know, to be brutally honest, I think people's attention spans have got shorter, especially potentially the younger generations. It's got shorter and shorter. So a platform like TikTok is fucking perfect because it's really short, really creative. Like I have nothing against the platform. Like I don't have it either, but it's very creative. There's almost anything that you want on there, from, you know, girls shaking their ass to somebody cooking to how to build a deck to, you know, it's got everything in a video form, so you don't have to read anything.
I'm interested about like how marketing works on TikTok, because obviously I understand like the sync process, like, you know, Jason Derulo makes a song, puts it on TikTok, and then like
blows up,
everyone's listening. But I wonder how, like, for example, like a business, how a business would use TikTok in a way. Like when I see music producers like Cephalo, he did like this, you know, this is the sounds and made it all together, and I kind of understand it, but like I just think I need to get on it, man, and I just need to like I need to understand. I think it's hard to understand. I feel like an old man being like, how does book face work? You know?
I think the thing with like creating on TikTok, I think you have to be quite versatile in like what it is you want to make, because I think with the music industry, you've already got yourself like a platform there. Like TikTok is a perfect platform for like a song to do well, you know. For example, was it Lil Nas X's Old Town Road? You know, you remember? That one, like that blew up and did I think it's on like 1 billion views or something ridiculous now on Spotify, 1 billion listens. Mad. And that was because I watched like this little docu-series on it because I was bored at lunch a few days ago, so for some reason it's fresh in my brain. But he was really clever in that he got it onto TikTok, like got people using it, turned into a bit of a trend, people dancing like cowboys, etc., etc. And then the song got bigger and bigger, and then it just became this entity of like everybody was doing this trend. And the word like going viral, which is like perfect right now with COVID-19, but you know, the digital version of going viral.
Oh my god. That took me a minute.
I told you, I still got those dad jokes, bro.
I got some good ones after the podcast.
I'll show you the secret list. But the thing with the thing with it is like going viral on the internet used to be, you know, YouTube, for example, it was going viral on YouTube. I always remember Casey Neistat's like snowboarding through New York video. That went viral. It did millions of views in days, right? The crazy thing with it says users on TikTok that go viral and they get millions of views in hours. Hours. Like a video can go from 0 to 1 million in hours because it's gone viral.
Scares me because it's like, it's that it's the protocol that, like, you know, if you get to the top in 5 minutes, then you're probably going to come down, like, you know, it's not going to last forever. And it's just like, so like, I think like when you work on something for years and years and years, you're kind of like when you get to a point where you're happy, I guess you know, you've worked so hard to get there. Whereas if you get really popular in 5 minutes, you haven't had the time to process like,
and maybe
what
not even
it takes.
appreciate it really.
No, and like, you know, when I work on something eventually that like, you know, is the end goal, whatever that may be. Yeah. Like I've got all this experience to let me up to this. Whereas if you do one video on TikTok and it gets millions of views, like how do you follow that up? Like what do you do next? How do you stay relevant after that? You see it all the time in music. You see like one song do amazing, and then it's all about longevity. Yeah. To me, I think that's the thing, like to focus on more, not one general video, like in general, like how you like consistently keep the content rolling.
Yeah, and I suppose especially for yourself, because you're in that sort of managerial position, you know, managing artists and later, you know, doing the record stuff as well. It's like, although you're still really fucking young in your career, like it must be really interesting taking that back seat as a manager and overseeing these things, you know, and seeing an artist potentially making one hit song and then struggling to make the follow-up. It's very, I think it kind of goes back into like this thing that I was sort of mentioning about like, you know, fast media. We've got so akin to fast media, like fast social medias, TikTok, Vine before that. Yeah, even Instagram has now got the reels and all of these things, like the fast media.
Yeah, that's my understanding of TikTok, to be honest. I think it's just
it's people putting on reels. Honestly, same. Like,
I need to go on,
bro. But I think that's the, you know, it's really exciting to see people's creativity, and especially when you give somebody 60 seconds, you know, to make something really interesting. That's hard. That's hard to make something really interesting in 60 seconds. But then also it's a bit daunting that attention span has got so short that with 60 seconds is almost the max of what we're willing to give something. And it's, you know, especially for me anyways, coming from slow formats of photography, for me as a creative, I can spend hours on a single image, just literally setting this fucking thing up. Like
it's beyond me, man. Honestly, I got so much respect for photographers and videographers, like, because I've photoshopped, I've Adobe'd before, but like I've seen someone take a picture and then I've seen the end product and I'm just like, how do you go from this to this? And it's just like, the understand that not every image is the same. Every image is, you have to approach differently, and I think it's totally. Do you like revisit things? Like, have you ever had like have you ever published like a zine or a project and then like thought, I want to like, you know, remaster this, re-edit it or anything?
Yeah, I think I have. I haven't necessarily released it as such. Like I've released a project, you know, Treasure Island being one of them, which was like my major body of work. Was on that the in Wales? The one that you saw at Bozfest 2 years ago now. Fuck, that feels like it was only yesterday. So for example, I finished that project, but I still go back to it to this day, looking at the images that I used, tweaking them a little bit, tweaking the sequence, etc. And I think it's a vital part of being a creative, the ability to revisit and re-educate yourself on previous work. And I'm sure it's exactly the same in the music industry.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think for me, you know, especially at the moment, it's hard to go and make new projects. You know, in reality, it is quite tricky because I can't travel anywhere. Everything's very close to home, etc. So it's kind of forced me to revisit a lot of my previous work and sort of look at it and wonder if there was a way that I could reuse it, rework it, potentially turn it into a zine or whatever. And I think by doing that, I'm reigniting not only the creative flame in my mind, but I'm also reigniting, you know, the ability to see. Like the visual industry is so important to be able to see things. Yeah, man. Like I remember, this might be going back 2 years now. Like when you were like reposting some of your old skate park the BMX
pictures.
stuff,
with like Tony and that. And I was just thinking, like, it's so different to what you do now. Yeah, massively different. And like even like how you shoot it, you just like, you know, you put a light behind the box and you take a photo. Like, and I'm just always, I mean, it's just a mental, because like you see with musicians, you sometimes see a progression, or you see when they stylistically change the
evolution of them.
And I feel like I can imagine photography is the same. Like you do one thing and then you do another thing, and then but it's just like there are a lot of transferable skills, like with lighting or color correction or
100%
in general.
100%. I think that's the thing, is like it's the same as any creative industry, or all industries, like that once you have learned the basics, you've learned okay, this is how I make this, you can then develop that, and slowly and surely you then develop a style. It's the same massively in photography and the visual arts, but I would have thought in music you learn, maybe a certain chord on a guitar, and then it develops, etc., etc. And I think that by revisiting previous work, as we were just talking about, it's kind of vital to understand where you've gone, and learn your growth, because it's so easy to be in the moment, to be in I need to do this, the rat race almost in some cases, that you kind of forget what you used to make, or you forget how you used to make. And so by revisiting those things, it's kind of a reality check. It's like I used to do this and now I make this. I can see my linear growth and timeline of change and evolution, but also it kind of, I think, makes you appreciate what you've learned massively.
Do you think when you release a project, it has to be unique and individual and like nothing else you've ever seen before? Or do you think that like there is a sort of not a formula, but like there is a somewhat standard that like some people use? And do you think that's important to like, have elements of what is going on and how people do edit their photos embedded with your own style? Does every piece need to be a Jacob Deere special, or is there like some margin?
Yeah, I think to sort of answer that question, I think everybody's inspired by something, no matter if it's visual based, something you read, heard, etc., or spoke to a friend.
Friends,
100%. We're all inspired by something. And I remember when I was doing my BA, my lecturer at the time told me about, I think it was a movie or a book or something, and it was called Everything's a Remix. So the context being that everything in the creative industry has been done. There's almost no new things with regards to like the basics of, for example, making an image. Everything has almost been done. Everything is a remix. My work is inspired by XYZ. So to sort of answer your question, does it all need to be unique? Yeah, because I want it to be me, and I want it to be the story that I'm focused on, or the background that I wanted to make, etc., etc. But then no, because it needs to be inspired, or maybe not inspired, because I've been trying not to use that word as much, because I feel that the word inspired overused, and also it doesn't actually relate to necessarily growth. Like inspiration doesn't equal growth. Inspiration might give you that 5 minutes of, oh, that's cool, I want to make that, but you're not necessarily growing from that. I think inspiration is very good at that 5 minute flame, whereas having real depth to yourself as an artist and understanding of yourself, not of your inspiration but of you and what you're interested in, is where you find growth more than the inspiration that you find. And I think it's very easy to feel like you're making work like others, and I'm sure in the music industry especially, there's songs that sound very similar to other songs, or samples that have been used on other things, etc., etc. So it's very easy to be inspired, but you have to have a level of originality. And for me as an artist, I'm always trying to create from my vision, my eye, but then on the flip, that's been inspired and grown from somewhere. You see what I mean? So it's very much a catch-22.
I think inspiration and innovation kind of go hand in hand. Like you can be inspired by something, but you can't necessarily copy it. Like you've got to put, like you say, you've got to put your own like twist on it, or like if you are inspired by something, you need to be like, it's like 5 minutes of like, wow, I want to do something similar to that.
Totally.
But then I know it's a complicated one. Don't get me wrong, I'm all up for individuality, and I think if you can do something completely different to everyone else, rock on, do your your thing and make sure it's your thing. But just because you're doing something that not everyone else is doing doesn't necessarily make it like,
no, definitely. And then, the argument then goes back to, is it really you that came up with that? Mm-hmm. Because if everything's a remix, it's been done before.
Who speaks about it? Quentin Tarantino says something similar, doesn't he?
He
says
think
that,
he
like,
does.
Everything that's good has already happened, so we might as well just like
make whatever it is. Like,
definitely.
At the end of the day, if you're able to let go and relinquish the shackles of what you think other people want you to make, that's when you actually start to find growth and you start to develop as a creative, and that crosses over in all aspects of being a creative.
Yeah, definitely. And not just a creative, is it? Like,
no, it's in general, I suppose, as well. It's we're very easily shackled to. This kind of goes back to the social media thing, but we're very fucking TikTok. But we're very easily, subconsciously, might I add, shackled to an image or a way of living our lives that we feel we should live.
Yeah.
So where do we learn that from? Is that from ourselves? Is that internalized? Is that completely objective, or is it subjective that we've taken in information, inspiration in some aspects from outside entities, from our friends, from social media, from celebrities, to make us feel like we need to live a certain way.
Yeah.
We need this car, or I need this award. Like, is that coming from you? Is that you that said that? Or is it a projection of what you think you should be? Yeah. That's a question that I know for me as a human, and a creative, is a question that is really prominent in my mind on a daily basis.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's not a question that can just be answered. You can't just go no or yes. It's like there is no real answer to that question. It's a very loaded question.
Just do you. Just be yourself, and like stuff will happen. Like I find it sometimes hard to explain to people what I do, because what I used to. Oh, what are you studying at uni? I say, music. Oh, what instrument do you play? It's like, well, actually. Yeah. And when I said to you earlier, it's like, I do everything to do with the music industry except for playing an instrument. Yeah. Like, that is rehearsed. Yeah. That is a rehearsed phrase.
That's taken a bit of time to develop.
And I think, like, if I could become a motivational speaker and talk to people, it's like, you don't need to be a musician to be in the music industry. No. You don't need to be a photographer to be creative. No. You don't need to be able to draw or paint to be a creative. Like, being a creative is like more so like a mindset, or like,
totally,
it's just so individual, so unique to you. It's just like, don't worry. I think my brother always says, don't follow the money, follow the dream, and the money will come. Yeah. But I just think, just if you're passionate about something, just something will happen. Luck is when skill meets opportunity.
100%. Well, it's a law of nature, isn't it? It's that if you put enough hours in on a weekly basis, something will happen.
10,000 hours.
Something will happen. Whether it's good, bad, or ugly, something will happen. Something has to come out of that time.
Wow, look at all this. Like, this is... who would have thought we would have been sat here years after Apex?
Honestly, could you imagine if we said this when we were at the skate park? It's like, I'm going to own a blah, blah, blah studio. It's like,
I'm going to run a record label. It's like, I'm the president of the United States. Mental, innit?
It is, but like, I think that's the thing is, I don't know if yourself is the same, some people are, but I meditate a lot and I do a lot of visualization. Like, if there's something that I want, whether it's material or not, I visualize it. And I've always found that if I spend enough time and I focus enough of my energy and I visualize on it hard enough, I can achieve it. Yeah. I can get it. Yeah. And that isn't arrogance, that isn't ego, that's knowing that what me, Jacob, is capable of in myself. Yeah. And I think when you unlock, like, it's almost like unlocking that door. Like, I know I keep using the door analogy all the time, but there's like this golden...
I'm a hippie too, bro. So I'm a hippie too. I know what you're saying. I know what I'm talking about.
But it's like there's this golden door. There's this golden door, and on the other side of it is self-evaluation, self-understanding. The two things that...
self-appreciation.
And self-appreciation,
yeah. 100%.
The things that really grow us as humans are on the other side of this door. To get to that door and to get the key to unlock it, you have to go through fucking hardship. You have to go through stuff that, for me, everyone's different, but the way for me that I went through it was through a lot of like quite heavy and difficult mental health issues, and dealing with that and trying to like get myself through this mud. And it might be the same for others, and it might not be for, other people might not be like that. But when you get the keys to that door, when you open that door, even just a little bit of a crack, and you can see your self-evaluation, you can see what you can build and do and what you're capable of. Fuck, it's addictive, man.
No one can tell you what to do.
No.
And like you're never going to believe someone when you have a crap day. You're not going to believe someone that's going to get better. But I think you need to, like, everything you go through just helps you understand yourself more. Like when I was younger, I was hanging out with people like your age a lot, and like so when I was growing up, like I didn't necessarily like get on with people that very well with my age, and I've come to terms with it now, more so realizing that like I am just me, and like there are a lot of people that don't vibe with the person I am, but it's just like you learn. These people come and go, and it's just all about like if you're just you, then your self-understanding of yourself, you'll be so much more comfortable. And when you're comfortable and you understand yourself, everything's just easier. Like I don't really meditate. I'm quite interested to know like what you define as like meditation, because I do a lot of yoga. Yeah. And like when I first started, I sucked. Like I couldn't touch my knees, man. But like I found that struggling with it is like I'd do it for like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I would not think about anything else other than the And now I'm getting better at it over like the course of the last 2-3 years. Yeah. Like I feel like it's just a good way to like kind of like not think about something, half an hour, do some stretching, and then like afterwards I always have a cup of tea, and then I'll right, okay, cool. That was an enjoyable half an hour. Now what's the rest of the day's tasks? And it just kind of like sets your head in motion. It's taking that time to like focus on yourself. And so like with meditation, do you like...
It's very similar. I think meditation is such a broad word. Like, it's so easy to say one thing. There's so many forms of it. So, personally, the way that I enjoy meditating is a very mindfulness approach to it. So I like to, put myself in a quiet and potentially darker place. No noise, nothing, and just be in my own mind. And it takes a lot of practice, and I've been doing it on and off for a few years now. By no means do I think I'm good, but there isn't such a thing as good in meditation.
Individual, like definitely. What we've been talking about this whole time, just being yourself. Do you because with yoga, like, there's a lot of like breathing aspects in it. Do you have like a breathing routine? Or do you like focus on your breathing, or do you just kind of like, or do you close your eyes, man?
Mate, honestly, it's very individual in like how one approaches it. But for me,
it's not step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4.
Totally. You can follow those steps, and there's plenty of guides out there. There's apps. I use an app called Calm quite often. It's quite a well-known app, and it has sort of guided meditations, which are great if you're first getting into them. Because when you first start meditating, this goes back to like the attention span side of your mind. Especially if you work in a digital realm, our attention spans are pretty short as it is. Yeah. If you don't have, I found, if you don't have that guide, that person in your ear telling you to slow your breathing, what to sort of think about, and feelings and all of these things, if you don't have that, you'll be there for 30 seconds. Your mind will start racing. You'll never slow your heart rate, and it's just gone.
That's it, man. If you get caught in that rut of like, because that's why I found why yoga was good, because like, I did struggle, and I literally couldn't. When I started, I couldn't think of anything else other than like, "Ow, my legs hurt." Yeah. So if I breathe properly, it won't like hurt. And I do think I read this thesis about like the fundamentals of meditation, not like how to meditate, the fundamentals of it. And they said they recommended, like, one of the last things they said was like, try timing yourself. Like try just putting on a timer and then like trying to do it and then see how long you can go without opening your eyes and checking the time, or even like make sure you're not going, oh, if I sit here for another 30 seconds and I've done done a minute, just try and like focus. And when you lose it, just like track your times and just see if like, because you'll see it progress ever so timely. I've never done that, but like
it sounds like a really interesting process. Like for me, the process that I do is, as I said, it's mindfulness based. So it's all breathing exercise, but it's also all about the way that it's hard to sort of describe, but the way that I do it is I sit in a lotus position. So I'm flat on the ground.
Can you do this?
Yeah.
I can't.
I do a lot of stretching, man. Like I train so much.
Actually, I haven't tried it in a while. I might have to put some joggers when I get back.
Bro.
I'll text you later. Like, look, Jake.
I did it.
I'll send you a TikTok of me doing it. Like, Jake, look.
Send me a TikTok of you getting into the lotus position.
More than 60 seconds.
Oh yeah, like absolutely. But so I'll sit there. I do like 3 nice deep slow breaths, and then I let my breathing regular out. Just be nice and regular. I'm not forcing it to be slow or deep or anything. It's nice and like relaxed. And it's taken me a bit of time, but in mindfulness meditation, there's a couple of ways of doing it. But the way that I do it is I put myself in a location in my mind. So when I want to meditate, I meditated before we came on this podcast because I've been having a bit of a shit couple of days. Haven't had a chance to meditate because I've been so busy. So I went out and just sat on the beach by myself for 20 minutes and made me feel way better. But the way that I like to do it is through breathing, slowing my heart rate, and I take myself to there's a grassy knoll that was in Cleve Hill in Cheltenham that I went to.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I can visualize it. I can see it and feel the grass in my hands. And I take myself to that place. Huge sky. Like I remember the sky looked fucking massive. And the way that I think of it, for me, and I know some other people do this, other people I know that meditate, is that the clouds in the sky are the thoughts. The clouds in the sky that I see in my mind.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, they're the thoughts. And if they're going fast, sometimes the clouds are like fucking zooming past.
Or like when you see like a time lapse.
Yeah, exactly. Like a time lapse sky. If they're doing that, then, I know that my mind is racing. But if they're slow, I can sit there, I can see them, I can read them, I can understand them. And then if I want to try and really calm down, I try and clear the sky. So I visualize myself clearing the sky. And that's how I do it. And it depends how long I have to meditate.
That's awesome, man. Like, I've never tried to utilize like visualization in that manner. But I think it sounds like an amazing concept. Like I can think of Glastonbury Hill, for example. I can literally picture. When I talk about Glastonbury Festival, I visualize like getting out of the tent and like I know exactly what it feels like to be at Glastonbury. Totally. And I feel like I might have to attempt this visualization.
Honestly, visualization, I sort of picked it up from, watching a lot of, I'm really into like, not athletics, because I'm not an athletic sort of person, but training, like trying to get healthier, running a lot, like lots of different forms of training.
Do you like, what do they call, like hit workouts?
Yeah, I play about with hip stuff. Yeah. I've started doing a lot of like calisthenics, which is like all body weight stuff.
Yeah, I've tried in the past.
Honestly, I did one yesterday. I'm fucking sore today. But
called Bully. There's a guy called Bully workout or something. Like,
I think I've heard of it from somewhere.
I think I mentioned it to my sister once, and then like she was like, "Oh yeah, we should try it." And then like she got really into it, and then now I'm back home, and she's like, "Yeah, let's do more. Yeah, twice a week, please."
Bro, honestly, but I got into like visualization because a lot of like very successful people, athletes, and marathon runners, Ironmans, all of these people, like they do a lot of visualizations, and they do visualization for success, like what they're going to achieve, not if, they will.
Yeah.
And I kind of got into the reading about visualization, and I'm a bit scientific and a bit nerdy in some cases.
Up the nerdy,
like, and just start throwing out the Star Treks, like. But like, I started looking into like statistics of like people that visualize and how they're more productive, etc. Like, for me, I'm all about like productivity, as we've spoken about so many fucking times in the past. So that's where I got into it. But also on the flip side of it, it can help with meditating and calming the mind and dealing with a lot of emotions and dealing with like, especially like mental health issues and helping calm your mind. All of those, yoga, meditating, visual, all of those things. Like I'm fucking
on it.
I try to.
If it helps, I hate, mate, I hate being sad. Hate it. I hate feeling anxious. I hate all the mental health issues that go along with life. Like me personally, you know, I get sad and I get anxious and I hate it. And I think if anything helps, I'm up for it.
Yeah,
like
totally.
100%. Like visualization sounds fascinating, but like, you know, yoga, like just being productive. You know, if I spend a week in bed, then I feel shit the next week. So I'm like, wow, I've just wasted a week. But if I've done something cool, or like I like talking to people and like saying, not like boasting, but like talk, like when people say, wow, you're actually doing something, and like, you know, when I like stuff that helps. I really like stuff that helps.
It's almost
running, exercising, meditation, just like self-help. Testify the self-help.
100%, bro. And I think like now is such a fucking good time to do it. You know, we're spending vast swathes of our time on by ourselves, you know, or in very limited numbers, and it's so important right now to be okay with oneself. Like, and sort of like you not gotta, because I hate using that term, but being able to understand, consider and understanding oneself and being gentle when need to be and hard when you must, like, is a vital skill I've always found in development and understanding and all of these things. And yeah, maybe I'm a bit of a fucking psychopath about it, and maybe I'm a bit too into it, but I know that it's the thing that sort of
if it helps,
saved
man,
me.
do it.
Like,
do you know what I mean? If with self-awareness, if you like, well, actually, on the flip side of all the stuff that helps, if you know stuff's bad for you, don't do it.
Yeah, no,
I don't like, you know, I think like sometimes you get you can be pressured into doing something physically, but sometimes mentally you have these thoughts that like don't help. And I'm not saying it's as easy, just like don't do it. But like if you're aware that if you're aware that drinking doesn't help your mental health, you should try not to drink. But then on the flip side, if it helps, you know, it's so complicated. Being happy is complicated, man.
Honestly, it's a fucking minefield. Like it really is.
If you're doing something you love, if you're passionate about, I think that's the key to like doing the best that you can. Is just doing something that you feel passionate about, and like shit gets exciting, man. I can't stop. Honestly, this is awesome. This place is sick. Like,
mate, honestly, you're like far too kind. You're far too kind. Speaking of cool stuff, though, tell me a bit about Ironside. Like, what's going on with what you're doing over there?
Yeah, man. So like last year, I wanted to do events, and I needed a brand to like kind of do them under, and that's how Ironside started. And then we did our first proper event. Sold 95% of the tickets, like absolutely smashed it.
That's so sick.
We had 2 rooms open, and I let another collective run the top floor, and they got kicked out for like stealing from behind the bar. And I was like, oh my god, this is like. Sakes. But they were like, no, it's cool. Like we've kicked them out, but you're still out. You keep doing your thing. Like, yeah, sweet. And I booked in loads of events afterwards, and then lockdown happened. And I'm talking, the event was March the 10th. Last year. Yeah.
That's so annoying. Fuck,
and then over the first lockdown, I was just on such a like, just done so well, and I want to keep going. And then so I started releasing music, and it's been a long, hard year. And we're coming up to the first birthday now, and it's just like we just released music, and like I've got a lot of projects in the works. Like we're at that, we've like been building this following, this a brand identity. Like we've rebranded to become Ironside Records recently, and we've got like a merch line dropping soon, and it's all just like I feel like the entire year has been building up to this point, and I'm waiting to like exhale all this stuff on everyone. Like we've got collaboration projects with other labels, some live stream stuff in the works. We've done 2 massive like albums. They're on all the DSPs, and I'm looking at like, you know, being more focused on like Spotify and Apple Music and stuff more so. But yeah, man, it's just exciting, and I think like in the next 4 months, Ironside.
Everything's going to start taking off, man.
Yeah, man. I feel like in the next 4 months, Ironside's going to be twice the size it is now. It's just been like, it's just building, man. Like, there's no, I've made a lot of bad decisions, and
that makes two of us, bro.
And I'm fine tuning it, man. I'm grateful to be 22. I'm grateful to be my age and be in the position I'm in. And I work hard at what I do. Like, not just uni, not just Ironside. Like, everything I do, I work hard at. And the next, the 20s, mate. 2020, the 20s is my decade.
Yeah, mate.
That's
honestly,
how I see it. Everyone's decade. 2021, not the best year, but also awesome. Some good stuff's happened.
Totally, and I think like it's so sick what you guys are doing. Like, of what I've seen, it's like so sick, and what you're just saying about
Appreciate
like
that,
the projects you got in the pipeline. It sounds like this year it's going to be like a mad year for you guys. But I think also, out of all the negatives, there's always positives, and I think like having all of this time, I'm speaking on a personal term, and I'm sure it's probably for yourself as well, but having all this time to sort of focus helps to re-energize and helps to redirect and helps to be more focused on like, where you're going, what it is you actually want to do, who you want to do it for, etc., etc. And it just like, as soon as like stuff starts becoming a bit easier, which it's going to be fairly soon.
Eventually, man. It's just about preparing yourself. Do you reckon you would have like done
this?
Yeah.
Well, if there wasn't a pandemic? Yeah. Probably not. No.
Do you think over like, so Ironside, we were only going to do events pretty much, and now we're a record label. Do you think that your brand, like Jacob Deere, you would have been doing potentially on a completely different path if it wasn't for?
Yeah, 100%.
But did you lose out on a lot of projects because of the first lockdown or the pandemic?
Yes and no. I think. Yeah, because there was work. There would have been potentially more work. There was work. Yeah, there would have been more work potentially. But the first lockdown was a bit weird for me, being that I just had surgery anyway. So like, I was going to be on my ass for a couple of months recovering anyway. So there wasn't a whole lot I could really physically do. So the first lockdown sort of was like, oh, okay, perfect timing in a weird roundabout way. But sort of answer your question, like, would I be doing this? Would I have the Brickworks if there wasn't a pandemic? I don't think I would. And the reason why I say that is I've always had my mind has always been what's next? Like, what am I doing next? Which can be really good. Like, can be a really good mindset if it doesn't completely indulge you and doesn't like overwhelm you. And there's been phases in my life where the what's next mindset has taken over enjoying the moment. And so
100% with you, man.
Yeah.
100,000%. You couldn't have said anything truer. That is like a point and a half. Like, so annoying when that happens.
It is, because only now am I starting to appreciate the moment much more. And I think the Brickworks came about primarily for adapting to the situation that we found ourselves in. I'd always had an interest in doing like a space, a gallery, a studio, something creative as a physical brick and mortar place. Yeah. But I'd never A, had the budget, and B, had the time, or C, had the mental capacity to not think too far ahead. Yeah. And the thing that I found last year, it forced me to slow down, and it forced me to reconsider what it is I want to achieve in the short to mid-term.
Yeah, definitely.
And one of the things was bringing a sense of my knowledge and my understanding of the creative industry back to the town that I grew up in, and potentially creating a space that could help the next generation.
Yeah, man, you're doing crazy things. Obviously, I've kept updated with what you've been doing, and like,
thanks,
when you did the thing in the school, I thought that is like, absolutely awesome. And like, there's like Burnham's such a small place, and back in the day, I used to think, what is going on here? But now, like, there's just such a there's a new wave of like creatives, and like
there is.
It's this. It's so when I saw Jack on the podcast the other day, I was like, I haven't really spoke to him since school, but like he's actually doing crazy things. And like Libby, she was in my tutoring. Like, I follow her on Instagram. She's just like, whoa, this is like, people are actually starting to do stuff. And 100%. Burnham's a small place, but like, it is a creative as shit place.
Well, you walk around, you see all the artwork, you see, okay, the population is primarily elderly, there's no getting around that, of course, but when you start to dig below the surface, you start to look at the education systems and what's going on around here. It's like, oh, okay, there is development, there is a creative development, albeit potentially tailored more towards the retired creative rather than the young creative, which that's what this place is. The Brickworks is for young creatives.
Oh, definitely, mate. And I've just watched your latest YouTube video yesterday, or the day before. So I wish I'm thinking I've got some questions for you off camera. I will
answer everything you want, but when it's not recorded.
Honestly, I watched a video and I can't reveal anything yet. I'm like, what are you trying to do to me?
Soon, bro. Soon. But but the thing with it is, the thing that I've learned is, it's hard work. Starting something like this has been a fucking nightmare, to be honest with you. And would I do it again at this stage of my life? Probably not.
Yeah.
But
it's exciting though, man.
Yeah, the stuff that I've learned from this, and it's probably the same with you and what you're doing with Ironside. You're learning so much so quickly and so rapidly at such a younger age. I'm only 25. I'm still pretty fucking young.
Yeah,
I got grey hair, bro, but I'm still pretty young.
I'm not calling you old.
Jake, you calling me out right now?
No, not at all. Look, but mate, all I'm saying is you're not on TikTok. So.
I haven't got 1 million views on TikTok yet. Maybe that's the goal this year. Maybe I should start a TikTok channel.
Maybe we should.
Shall we do the Jake's
TikTok
vibe, bro? I am game.
100%, man.
But I think it's been hard work, but it's well worth the knowledge that I'm obtaining. And I think at the end of the day, for me, knowledge is vital. Of course, you got to make money. Of course, you got to pay the bills, etc., etc. But continually learning, continually developing understanding and knowledge, that's so vital to building a much more prosperous and potentially happier life.
And long term, man. Like doing short projects only last short term, but if you work on this for a long time, then it's gonna last for a long time. Ironside, right now, like I say, we're doing bits and pieces and it's really exciting. But what we've got in store, and we've only been going for a year, realistically. And in a year's time, you've only how long have you been doing this for?
5 months,
exactly.
4 or 5 months.
And in 7 months' time, it's gonna be you're gonna be on another level, and then a year's from there, it's just exciting.
Do you want me to let you in on a little secret? I know there's however many people listening. So the Brickworks as me running it will only be to October this year.
Really?
And then the plan is, so I haven't actually told this to anyone. I probably shouldn't, but fuck it, because it's going to devalue everything.
I tried,
bro. Fuck it, I'm going to say it. So the plan being is the lease ends on this place in October at the end of the year. So my plan as me, Jacob, the creative, was to always run the Brickworks till October this year, and then after that, I want to find somebody to take it over. I want to find another local young creative.
Really?
Yeah, I want to find somebody who is passionate and is understanding of building, connections, building a community. And hopefully by that point there will be a strong community here, because COVID won't be quite as, big in the main and such a problem. And to give it to them. So it'd be theirs. So I would walk away and I'd carry on with my career as a professional, as a creative.
Wow.
And they would take over the Brickworks. It would be theirs and they take it in whatever direction they want. And the reason why I say that is I want the Brickworks not to be the Jacob Deere show and then the Brickworks is this thing. I want it to be this rolling entity, this rolling creative entity.
You pass it on, and then
in a year's time they pass it on. Then in a year's time they pass it on.
That's interesting.
And it becomes this continual development of a rolling creativity.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. That's the idea.
That's mental, actually. That's really cool.
Yeah, concept. So that's the idea. It may not go like that.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening or watching this in October the 1st, 2021, send me your CV or send me something telling me who you are.
Yeah. Make sure
if I'm still doing that. That's still the plan.
Get your LinkedIn profile up to scratch.
Send me your TikTok. But and for me, I think the thing with the creative industry that I've learned is it can be incredibly selfish, this industry. The creative industry can be very selfish.
I think it's hard when the industry is mostly made up of freelancers.
Yeah. Individuals.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you've got to kind of So selfish. Yeah, no, I do agree to some degree. Like obviously, with music, you've got the major record labels that own like 80% of the entire record recording industry and stuff. But like, no, I do agree. But I also, I don't know. I think like Ironside, I'm the most predominant. Well, I do work with other people, but most predominantly I run the label. I oversee everything, and but I tend to work with people that aren't selfish, that like have a passion, have a drive, and want to do well, and then that's what attracts me to people, like the creatives that want to work with people. Whereas there's other people that I've worked with that are clearly out for themselves. And I think our new generation, the new wave of the creative industry, is going to be about collaboration. And people that are selfish and only self-beneficial, they're going to fall off the ladder, and they're going to like ruin their connections for the future. Whereas like, you know, if I'm ever in Burnham and I want to work on a project, you know, I would be like, I know I can see how you want to do well and you're passionate about it, so I'd want to work with you more so than someone who like is selfish and is only trying to
totally. And I think the thing with it is, the creative industry, it's an individual pursuit primarily if you're trying to be a creative. You know, because like, not to go down the rabbit hole, but 95% of all creative processes are from an individual perspective. You know, you could hold a camera with me, but only one of us can press the shutter button. You know, same concept. You know what I mean? Like, so it's still an individual process in some capacity. And I think it's very easy to get caught up, as we were saying in the start of this podcast, it's very easy to get caught up in the monetary value of the creative industry. And I think that is what I mean by potentially selfish. That people can some individuals might come into the creative industry and do it for monetary growth, which is totally understandable. We all need money. But if that's the only concern, then I'm not that interested in working with those sort of individuals.
These nuts of a song lyric, it's money cannot buy you happiness. It's true what they say, but a motherfucker still got bills to pay. And I think that's so like that's so imperative into the way I think. Like, it's the thrill and it's the dream. That's why you work, why you're a photographer, and like why I work as a record label. And I like being the company that releases people's music, because I only work with artists and it's the same with this Brickworks. Like, if you do pass it on to someone, it's not gonna be someone who's like, oh, I'm gonna make, you know, I'm going to sell t-shirts, I'm going to sell bottles, I'm going to sell everything. It's going to be someone who has the same dream issue, the ethos. Definitely. Or
at least has an interest in community and an interest in building and continuing that growth.
That's what we need here, man. Like,
totally.
Shout out to like Boss Fest and Spray Jam and that, because it's really like opened up like my eyes to Burnham as a town. I love Burnham, man. Like, it's a brilliant place, and like, I don't know if I'll be back here anytime soon. But
honestly, and this is no disrespect to Burnham. I do love this town in many ways. It's probably not a good idea to come back.
I have a fear of getting stuck, because it's good living here. It's nice. It's a nice place.
It's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful little town.
I like walking down this. Well, pre-COVID, I like walking down the street and like knowing everyone. But I also think like you don't network with new people if you know everyone. And there's people in this town that like are doing things and like that I used to know, and I've kind of like been like, oh well, you're doing this, I'm doing this, maybe we should work together. But it's kind of like, you know, because we knew each other
when you were kids or whatever,
when we were little shits. It kind of like pushes you apart, because you have a kind of history of like maybe not being friends, whereas like we were always kind of mates back in the day.
Totally.
So it's easy for us to like do a podcast together, whereas some people, they're like
100%.
Doing cool stuff. And it's hard to make that connection now, because we used to know each other, if that makes sense.
I think the thing with it is it's very easy to, you know, when you've been in the same place for a very long time and know a lot of the people in that place, it's very easy to get caught up in the past. And to get caught up in, oh, fucking such and such did this to me when I was a kid. Like, it's very easy to get caught up in that and not be able to look past it for actual growth.
I'm the same. There's some people I'll never forgive. Some people have done stuff to me that I'll try to say hello in that, but like, you know, I wouldn't be like, hey, come round for roast dinner.
Post-COVID.
Of course. TikTok.
That'd be jokes. But of course, man, and I think that's the thing is like, what we're doing at the Brickworks, and by the sounds of things, what you guys are doing at the Ironside as well, it's like, it's building that community, it's building that base and that understanding of like, we're all creatives, we can all feed off each other, we can all help to grow one another, and we can take over this shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's...
Now is the time for the innovators.
I couldn't agree more.
2020 is the decade, man.
100%.
I'm telling you this.
That's a poetic way to end the podcast, I think, actually.
Yeah, man. 2020 is the decade
of innovators. Yeah, man.
Time for the innovators.
So, to everyone that's listening and or watching this podcast, where can they find yourself, Jake, and Ironside, like social medias and stuff?
Ironside Records on Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Spotify, all the other digital streaming platforms.
Cool.
I don't actually know what my personal Instagram is, but if you're a musician, singer, songwriter, anything creative, you can message me at @4music_ on Instagram, and let's talk. Like, I manage a variety of different creatives, and I'm always looking to
100%.
expand my portfolio of people that I want to work with.
100%.
We've all got similar dreams, and let's fucking get it. Like, 2020 is a decade.
Oh, bro, hell yeah. 100%, man. So yeah, I'll make sure that everything's linked down below, all of links and everything to anyone watching or watching. We've been podcasting too long, haven't we? I can't even think. Watching or listening.
Condense this to a TikTok.
Could you imagine? But no, I appreciate you coming on, man, and sharing some deep thoughts. It's
I'm
cool.
glad we finally got to sit down and have a talk for this long.
So am I. 5 years it's taken. But 100%, man. And as I say to everybody who watches or listens, they know it's a crazy world out there, guys. Make sure you stay safe, stay positive, keep smiling. Peace.